demanding and terrific inside the ring. Rural farmland on the edge of Shepinski, amidst the DNS hills comes the intelligent, mercurial.
And the first bout in the last 8 features the world champion from Ukraine.
A most skilled and sensational of amateurs, cruiserweight undisputed king, now heavyweight champion, undefeated, pound for pound standout, and what support he has given and he's got from his beloved Ukraine. President Zelensky urged Oleksandr to return to the ring, and here he is.
And now making his entrance to the ring from Ukraine, champion of the world, Oleksandr Usyk.
In the heavyweight division for the championship of the world. Unprecedented reign now includes the title of World Grand Prix champion. Here comes Rico Verhoeven. Here now is his opponent fighting out of the white corner. This legendary glory unbeaten streak dates back 13 years, over 4,000 days. As a professional, 65 wins with 10 losses, 21 big wins by knockout. He stands 6 feet 5 inches tall, 1.96 meters, and he weighed in at 265 pounds, 120.3 kilos. Fighting tonight out of the Netherlands, he is the reigning and defending heavyweight champion of the world, the king of kickboxing, Rico Verhoeven.
What happens when one of boxing's smartest heavyweight champions collides with the most dominant kickboxing giant of this generation? Oleksandr Usyk versus Rico Verhoeven isn't just another fantasy fight. It's a battle between elite IQ, precision, power, and pure championship mentality. Usyk has already shocked the boxing world by defeating bigger and stronger heavyweights with movement and skill, while Rico Verhoeven has spent years destroying opponents with brutal pressure and world-class striking. Two champions from different combat worlds, both used to dominating under pressure, now raise one massive question. Who would truly survive when technique meets raw force? Oleksandr Usyk and Rico Verhoeven are two of the most respected combat sports athletes on the planet, but they built their legacies in completely different arenas. Usyk became an undisputed boxing champion through intelligence, footwork, endurance, and elite ring control, defeating some of the toughest heavyweights in the sport. Rico Verhoeven, on the other hand, ruled kickboxing for years with devastating combinations, physical dominance, and relentless aggression that overwhelmed nearly everyone placed in front of him. This matchup is fascinating because both fighters bring championship experience, elite conditioning, and world-class mental toughness. If these two giants ever shared the same ring, fans could witness one of the most technical and explosive crossover fights combat sports has ever imagined. The heavyweight division has seen giants, punchers, technicians, and legends, but every so often, a fantasy matchup appears that completely captures the imagination of fight fans worldwide. And today, we are diving into one of the most fascinating hypothetical battles in modern combat sports. Oleksandr Usyk versus Rico Verhoeven, 12 rounds for the WBC heavyweight title. On one side stands Oleksandr Usyk, the undefeated Ukrainian boxing master, an Olympic gold medalist and unified heavyweight champion whose footwork, ring IQ, and technical brilliance have dismantled some of the biggest names in boxing. On the other side stands Rico Verhoeven, the king of kickboxing, a towering Dutch powerhouse who has ruled the heavyweight kickboxing world for years with elite athleticism, devastating striking, and relentless pressure. But if these two men met inside a boxing ring under pure boxing rules, who would truly come out on top? Let's break it down. At first glance, the physical matchup alone is compelling. Both men are massive athletes with championship-level conditioning and elite combat experience. Usyk stands around 6'3" with a reach of approximately 78 inches, while Rico Verhoeven is slightly taller at roughly 6'5" and naturally heavier on fight night. Rico would likely enter the ring with a clear size advantage, and his frame alone would create immediate intrigue. However, size has never been enough against Usyk. We've already seen him outclass naturally bigger heavyweights like Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury by using angles, movement, and superior ring intelligence. That's what makes this matchup so fascinating. Rico may be the bigger athlete, but Usyk is arguably the most technically gifted heavyweight boxer alive today. Let's begin with Oleksandr Usyk's biggest advantage: experience in professional boxing at the absolute elite level. This is not simply a boxer versus another striker. This is a generational boxing technician against a man transitioning from a different striking sport. Usyk has spent his entire life mastering boxing mechanics, distance control, punch timing, defensive movement, and championship pacing over 12 rounds. His amateur pedigree is extraordinary, and his professional career has only reinforced his greatness. He has defeated elite opponents in both cruiserweight and heavyweight divisions, and has done it not through brute force but through tactical domination. Usyk doesn't just beat fighters, he mentally breaks them down over time. Now let's discuss Rico Verhoeven. While many boxing fans may underestimate him because of his kickboxing background, doing so would be a mistake. Rico is not some average crossover fighter. He is one of the greatest heavyweight kickboxers in history, with elite footwork for a man his size, excellent hand combinations, serious power, and years of championship-level combat experience. He understands range, pressure, rhythm, and how to fight under bright lights. Unlike many crossover athletes who rely solely on physicality, Rico possesses genuine technical skill. He is disciplined, highly conditioned, and mentally battle-tested. If anyone from kickboxing could potentially make a respectable transition into boxing, Rico is among the best candidates. However, boxing is a different science. In kickboxing, fighters can use kicks, knees, and a broader stance, which changes defensive habits and distance management. Under boxing rules, Rico would lose major elements of his offensive arsenal, and perhaps more importantly, he would have to adjust to the subtle nuances of pure boxing defense. That includes head movement, shoulder rolling, slipping jabs, parrying combinations, and defending prolonged punch exchanges against an elite boxer. Against average opponents, Rico could likely compensate with athleticism and power. Against Oleksandr Usyk, every technical flaw would be exposed. As the opening bell rings in this fantasy matchup, the first few rounds would likely be cautious but tense. Rico would attempt to establish his jab early, using his size and reach to keep Usyk at range while trying to impose physicality. He would likely look to pressure behind a high guard and throw hard straight rights when Usyk enters range. For Rico, the key would be making the fight physical, leaning on Usyk, forcing clinches, making him carry weight, and attempting to disrupt his rhythm. If Rico stands at long range trying to outbox Usyk technically, he would be playing directly into the champion's strengths. But Usyk is a master of downloading information. In the early rounds, he would likely spend time reading Rico's timing, testing angles, and observing defensive reactions. Usyk often starts methodically, gathering data before increasing his output. He would circle constantly, attacking from angles rather than straight lines, making Rico reset over and over. This is where the difference in boxing specialization begins to show. Rico may be athletic enough to follow Usyk initially, but maintaining that level of adjustment against elite footwork for 12 rounds is mentally and physically exhausting. By rounds 3 through 6, the fight would begin shifting in Usyk's favor. His jab would start landing more consistently. His feints would create hesitation. His lead hand control would disrupt Rico's offense before it starts. Rico might have moments of success when he lands a clean right hand or backs Usyk toward the ropes, but the issue would be consistency. Against a fighter like Usyk, landing one good shot is not enough. You must sustain pressure, cut off the ring perfectly, and maintain defensive discipline every second. Few heavyweights in boxing can do that. A boxer transitioning from kickboxing would likely struggle even more. Another major factor is stamina under boxing conditions. While Rico has world-class cardio in kickboxing, 12 championship boxing rounds require a unique pacing and rhythm. The constant lateral movement, clinch fighting, defensive head positioning, and punch-only exchanges create a very different energy demand. Usyk thrives in deep waters. In many of his biggest fights, he gets stronger as the rounds progress. His engine is among the best in heavyweight boxing, and if Rico cannot secure early momentum, the later rounds could become brutal. As the fight moves into rounds 7 through 9, expect Usyk's combination punching to become more frequent. He would likely begin targeting the body more aggressively, using straight lefts downstairs and quick combinations upstairs to wear Rico down. This is where technical boxing experience matters most. Rico may still be dangerous with his size and power, but fatigue begins exposing defensive lapses. Hands drop lower, footwork becomes slower, reactions become delayed. Against Usyk, those small mistakes become fight-changing openings. By the championship rounds, the momentum would likely be entirely with the Ukrainian champion. Rico's toughness and warrior mentality could keep him in the fight, but Usyk's accuracy, pace, and ring control would probably create a widening gap on the scorecards. If Rico remains durable, he may survive the distance through grit alone. However, There is also a realistic possibility of a late stoppage if Usyk overwhelms him with volume, while Rico's defense deteriorates under sustained pressure. So who wins this fantasy showdown? Under pure boxing rules, Oleksandr Usyk would enter as the overwhelming favorite, and for good reason. His technical superiority, championship boxing experience, footwork, ring IQ, and proven success against elite heavyweights make him one of the worst possible matchups for a crossover fighter. Rico Verhoeven's size, toughness, and striking pedigree would make him competitive early and dangerous at all times. But over 12 rounds, boxing specialization matters too much. The likely outcome is Oleksandr Usyk winning by wide unanimous decision, or potentially scoring a late stoppage after systematically breaking Rico down. That said, Rico Verhoeven deserves enormous respect in this conversation. Merely being considered in a fantasy fight against the heavyweight boxing champion shows how highly combat sports fans rate his talent. He is an elite fighter in his own right, a dominant champion, and one of the greatest kickboxers of his era. But greatness in one combat sport does not automatically translate to another, especially against a generational talent like Oleksandr Usyk. In the end, this matchup represents more than just boxer versus kickboxer. It represents the fascinating question every fight fan loves to ask. How would elite athletes from different combat sports compare under one rule set? And in this case, when the rules are boxing, Oleksandr Usyk's mastery of the sweet science would likely prove too much for Rico Verhoeven to overcome. Still, fantasy fights like this remind us why combat sports are so compelling. They allow us to imagine impossible scenarios, debate greatness across disciplines, and appreciate the unique skill sets that make each champion special. Usyk may be the superior boxer, Rico may be the superior overall striker in a broader rule set, but inside a boxing ring, over 12 rounds, with the WBC heavyweight title on the line, Oleksandr Usyk likely leaves with his hand raised. And now the question goes to you. Who do you think wins this dream matchup? Could Rico's size and striking background shock the world? At the end of the day, fights like Oleksandr Usyk versus Rico Verhoeven are what make combat sports exciting because they force fans to imagine the impossible. Could Usyk's movement, boxing IQ, and experience against elite heavyweights neutralize Rico's size, pressure, and devastating striking power? Or would Rico's physicality and aggressive style become too much even for one of boxing's greatest tacticians? No matter which side fans choose, one thing is guaranteed. This matchup would capture the attention of the entire fighting world. Drop your prediction in the comments, smash the like button, and subscribe to MMA Knockout for more epic fight breakdowns, fantasy matchups, and elite combat sports analysis.